Hello, and welcome to 5-Minute Math. Today we are looking at the sixth grade concept of representing additive and multiplicative relationships. This is 6.6c Readiness Practice, the advanced version. If you're interested in exploring the 6.6c Readiness Practice for the intermediate or proficient versions, or the Readiness Practice resource along with any other standard, you can find those by using the link in the video description. All right, so we have a taxi that's charging a flat fee of $4 and then $2 for every mile traveled. So y is going to represent the total cost. And so I'll put that right here. X is the number of miles. And so I'll put miles right here. And we need to write an equation that shows the total cost of the ride. So what I want to do is I want to start with a table to kind of get us there. And I added an extra column here because we've got this flat fee, right? We've got this $4 that just for showing up, you get charged. All right, so it's $2 per mile. So really what we're going to do is we're going to take our miles, we're going to multiply that by 2. So 1 mile, right? It's going to be $2 for that mile plus that flat fee, that $4, that's going to equal my y. In this case, it's going to be 6. So if I 2 miles, it's going to be 2 times 2, that's 4, plus that flat fee, that's going to give me 8. So 3 miles is going to be 3 times 2 is 6, plus that extra 4 gets me 10. So that's our pattern. But you notice we've got our equation built right here. We could do it like this. Sometimes you'll see it flipped around like that. You could also see y equals 2x plus 4. Either one of these are correct. Doesn't really matter which way the y is facing. But you do want the y isolated on one side of the equation. Number 2, we've got a hot air balloon starting at a height of 500 and then ascends. Okay, so that means goes up 20 feet per minute. We need to create a table that shows various heights. Okay, so let's kind of do what we did here. So the height is going to be y. And then we've got a x is minutes. I'm going to add that extra column again because it's not starting on the ground. It is starting at the initial height, and that's 500. All right, and so it's 20 feet per minute. So what I'm doing is I'm taking my minutes, multiplying that by 20. So if I had 1 minute, it would have gone up 0, or it would have gone up 20 feet plus the 500 that's already there. So that's going to equal my 520. So if I had 2 minutes, it would have been an extra 20 feet because it would have been 2 times 20 is 40. Add that 500, and that would have been 540. So once we start at that 500, you notice we're just going up by 20s because each minute means an extra 20 feet. All right, so let's do a little squiggle here to show a break. We're not going to continue the pattern. We're going to jump straight to 15. All right, so now I need 15 times 20. That's going to be 300 plus my 500, and that's going to equal 800. All right, so let's say tables may vary because you might have a different one than me. And we can go ahead and put an answer on this. We could say 800 feet. And we'll put a green box around it just so it's kind of clear. And we have our equation there. Y equals 20x plus that 500. For our third problem, we have a graph here. So let's zoom out so we can see it here. Two friends are saving money. Alice starts with $20 and saves $5 a week. Bob starts with $0, saves $10 a week. And so we're going to graph both of them. And we're going to try to figure out when Bob is going to have saved more money than Alice. All right, so that's going to be fun. So we've got, let's put weeks on our x-axis here. And you know what? I could just put that right here. And then our y-axis is going to be our money. That is our dependent variable. How much money do we have? So for the weeks, I'm just going to go ahead and skip count here by ones, kind of jumping every other line because I don't expect to have to go very far. I'll change that if I need to. And then we've got our money. I do think if we're starting with 20 bucks, right? I'm going to do this. I'm going to do 10, 20, 30, just because we're starting with some initial values. And so let's see if this is going to be enough. What I want to do is I want to create two tables, one for Alice, one for Bob. All right, so let's see. I've got my Alice right here. And so what do we know about Alice? Starts with 20 bucks and saves $5 a week. Okay, so I've got my week. She's one in which I've got that middle column of the start. And then I've got my money. Okay, so she starts with 20 bucks and she saves $5 a week. So that's my X, that's my Y. So it's going to be 5X plus that starting is going to equal my Y. So at 0 weeks, okay, she has 20 bucks because she starts with 20. And so that's going to equal 20. So that's going to be a point for me. That's going to be 0, 20. 1 week, it's going to be $5 plus that 20 is going to give me 25. So 125. And then let's go to 2. That's going to be 2 times 5 is 10. Add that 20, gets me 30. Now, here's the nice thing about these relationships. I don't need to plot every single point. I'm going to plot these 3 points. So I'll do hers in black. So I've got 0, 20. I've got 125. And then I've got 230. Okay, so these are her 3 points. And we can label them 0, 20, 125, and then 230. If we draw a line, there we go. All right, so that is going to be our line. So that is going to represent what we have for Alice. Now, let's double check what we have with Bob. Do Bob in green. Bob is different. Let's go back to drawing. All right, Bob is going to be, starts with 0, and it just saves $10 a week. So there's no extra starting money. So Bob, X, and it's $10 a week. It's going to get me my money. So at 0 weeks, he's got 0 money. So that's going to be 0, 0. At 1 week, he's going to have 10 bucks because he saves $10 a week. At 2 weeks, he saves 20 bucks, right? He saves $10 a week. So at 3 weeks, he's already at $30. So let's see what that looks like here. So I've got my 0, 0 starting out really low. But now I've got my 110, 110. I've got my 220. So look, he's right there. 220. So he's already caught up to where Alice started. So my 330 is really close. So let's see if I do one more. I bet you I would get over at 440. And it looks like my 440 is going to get both of them. Look at that right there. 440. If I can draw my line, we could see that if we connect these lines here, after that 40, I am now going to be earning more money with Bob than I'm with Alice, and that's that kind of that point. So use the graph to determine when will Bob have saved more money than Alice. So starting in week 5. At week 4, they're equal. So we can say Bob earns more starting in week 5. Or we can say after week 4. Starting in week 5. And that is our answer. If you are interested in exploring the 6.6T readiness practice for the intermediate or proficient version, or the readiness practice resource along with any other standard, you can find those by using the link in the video description.